as written by my mother, and now narrated by her son. Rest in peace, Gloria Williams-Bailey. Mom. August 13th, 1945 to December 15th, 2015. I have asked, it has not been given. I have knocked, it has not been opened. I have reached out, but there is no one there to touch. I have seeked, but as of yet have not found. Gloria. I was born in Virginia on August 13th. I came from a very large family. How does 13 grab you? I was the baby. I don't really remember my parents or what they actually looked like, but for all these years I've held on to a vision of my mother. She wore glasses. She was stout, not too tall. She had hang moles all over her face and neck, and was light complexioned. My oldest sister confirmed my vision years later when she sent me a snapshot of mother. A snapshot of father was included, but I had no recollection of him at all, other than his voice. My father was a blacksmith by trade, and mother was a housewife. She had her hands full taking care of us and the house. Our home, as I remember it, was very old and small, but comfortable and warm. In order to help father, the oldest boys worked the fields from sunup to sundown, and my sister Marge, who was 13 at the time, helped mother with the cooking. The beginning, as I remember it, began about 4 days before my 5th birthday. Father was not working at the time due to the fact he had cancer, and the doctor had given him only a short time to live. I think father knew he had cancer, but the doctor and mother agreed it wasn't necessary for him to know his time was short and almost at hand. Some years later, I learned my mother had written to my oldest sister Marilyn, who was married and residing in New York with her family. Mother's letter was to ask if she should have father put away in a nursing home, or whether she should allow his demise to come at home. My oldest sister was supposed to have written mother back with this reply: I didn't join you together, and I'm not going to separate you. The decision is yours alone. For many years I thought this reply from daughter to mother was a bit cold and even cruel, but now that I've grown up, I understand where my sister was coming from, especially when I think about the words from the good book. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. August 8th. Mother went out for a couple of hours. When she returned, the house was in shambles. It looked as if a tornado had hit it. Lampshades were broken all over the floor, clothes had been pulled out of the drawers that appeared half closed, and furniture had been disarranged. When mother asked father what had happened, he told her he had created the mess by searching for 2 bullets. When she asked him what he wanted with 2 bullets, he said, I saw 2 pigeons in the backyard today I wanted to shoot. Mother kept the bullets to father's double-barrel shotgun, not realizing she was one of the pigeons and father the other. She gave him the 2 bullets, for which he had torn the house upside down to find, Mother went on about cleaning up the broken glass, straightening up the drawers, and trying to get the house back to living conditions again. As I look back now, once again to that tragic day, it's almost as if it happened yesterday. August 9th. It was pretty close to supper time, and the very next day after Mother had given Father the bullets, my brothers were still working in the fields, not more than 500 yards from the house. Marge was in the kitchen cooking where my sister Ellen watched from under the table. Father was sitting on the steps leading to upstairs, and Mother was sitting across the room opposite him in her rocking chair with her head buried in her arms, listening to her favorite story on the radio. I was sitting on the chair directly under Father. I had just finished polishing my Sunday go-to-meeting shoes when I developed a strong urge to go upstairs and play with my doll. I slid my shoes, Oxford blood in color, under the chair to dry and ran up the stairs. When I reached the 5th step where Father was sitting, I saw the gun standing in the staircase with a white handkerchief tied around the trigger. I stared. I remember Father turning around asking me what I wanted. I told him I wanted my doll. He told me to get upstairs, get what I wanted, and come right back down. I did. About 5 minutes after coming down, Father grabbed the gun and aimed it at Mother. As he pulled the handkerchief which triggered the gun, I ran into the kitchen. As I ran across the room, the bullet skimmed my head and landed in Mother's left underarm. Father immediately ran upstairs. Mother jumped from her chair, headed for the stairs, screaming and shouting to Father, "I'm gonna get you," over and over again. Mother only made it to the 4th step where she fell backwards and died instantly with her eyes open. Blood rushing from her arm and mouth, it covered the floor. Hearing the shot in the field, my brothers hurried in. Melvin, out of breath, asked, "Where is he?" Getting a nod from my sister Marge, he fled upstairs. He came down moments later with a strange, sad look on his face, tears in his eyes, and head hanging low. Father was dead too. I don't remember my exact feelings or what I did. I think I just stood there dumbfounded as to what had happened. All I remember is the police, the ambulance, and Mother and Father lying side by side on the floor between the kitchen and the upstairs, with a white sheet draping their bodies. Then I remember how we, us children, stepped aside to make a path as they carried Mother and Father out to the ambulance. I remember saying to myself, it should have been me instead of Mother, and in later years I wish many times it had. After the police and ambulance left, Marge got down on her hands and knees to wipe up the blood, Mother's blood. Father's double-barrel shotgun was found outside on the ground underneath the upstairs window, broken in half, the white handkerchief still intact around the trigger. The church was packed for the funeral. They buried Mother and Father side by side in the church grounds. Years later, I learned the story of that tragic day had been termed murder-suicide. Today, I still blame myself for not being able to push the gun from my mother's view. One of my sisters told me many years later that Father killed Mother because he loved her and didn't want to leave her behind to be hurt by another man. Well, if this was love, I didn't want any part of it. Why did he leave all of us children without a mother? Couldn't he have thought of us? Then again, maybe he didn't think of us. Perhaps this was his plan. I was also told that Father didn't have much strength left, and that was why he needed the handkerchief to pull the trigger. To pull the trigger. To pull the trigger. To pull the trigger.